Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida FAIRtax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, January 9th, 2026. Pass the FAIRtax, save Social Security, and reduce the national debt. Politicians make promises, but the FAIRtax will fully fund Social Security and reduce the national debt. The 2025 Social Security Trustees Report projects that starting in 2033, the trust fund will still be collecting money from payroll deductions, but the collections will not be sufficient to meet the program's obligations. At best, Social Security recipients will receive only 80% of their current benefit. Now, to anyone looking at the actual situation, the reasons for this are simple. In 1960, 5 workers supported each retiree. Today, only 2.8 workers support each retiree, and that'll drop to 2.3 per retiree in 2030. Now, when Social Security started, most people didn't live long past retirement, but many now collect benefits for 20 to 30 years. The result is much higher payouts than originally planned. Roughly 10,000 people a day are reaching retirement age, worsening the problem. Now, relying on the payroll tax to fund Social Security limits the government's options. You can raise or eliminate the payroll tax cap beyond which earners don't pay Social Security taxes. The cap is now at $168,000, and amounts over that pay only 1.45 to 2.35% on the balance of their income. You can increase the current 12.4 total tax, 6.2 for the employee and 6.2 for the employer. You could raise the retirement age, or you could reduce benefits for people based on their income. The higher your income, the less benefit you receive. Now, any president or member of Congress who presides over any cut in Social Security benefits will face severe political consequences. For this reason, most people assume that no president or Congress will allow Social Security recipients to have their benefits reduced and assume the $230 billion in reduced payments will be paid from general revenue. The kick the can down the road attitude applies to the national debt as well. As of early December 2025, the total U.S. national debt is $38.4 trillion. That's an increase of more than $2 trillion over the past year. Now, the interest on that debt is now $1 trillion a year, and we're now borrowing the money to pay that interest. And all of us know how this is going to end if we don't regain our fiscal sanity and stop borrowing. $2.4 trillion of the debt is owed to the Social Security Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. That's 6.25% of the total debt. It's insane to think that we can solve our fiscal problems by piling on more and more debt. In conclusion, we know that as the number of retirees increases, the number of workers supporting each retiree will decrease, and the Social Security Trust Fund will be able to pay less each year. Fortunately, there is a solution that ensures the future solvency of Social Security while also reducing the debt. That solution is the FAIRtax. After enactment of the FAIRtax, retirees will be supported by everyone whose spending rises above the poverty level, not just those who are working for a paycheck. High-income individuals who live mostly off investment income and contribute little or nothing to the system today will start paying their fair share. No increase in the debt will be required. The debt is reduced by $2.4 trillion a day on the day the FAIRtax is in force. And Social Security is secure for all retirees, and young people will no longer say that they have a better chance of riding in a UFO than they have of getting Social Security. The FAIRtax, a national retail sales tax on new retail goods and retail services, provides a family credit so that all purchases up to the poverty level for each family are not taxed. Furthermore, there's no withholding from your paycheck, and you never have to file a tax return telling the government how much you earned and how much you spent ever again. And you'll never be harassed by the IRS ever again because the FAIRtax eliminates the IRS. Now, many of you have labored tirelessly for freedom from the federal income tax and the IRS. You deserve a great deal of credit for your efforts to educate the American people on the need to fund the American government in a way that's good for America and that returns freedom to the American people. It's imperative, though, that we don't replace the current income tax in the IRS with an alternative system that can still be manipulated by the ruling elite. We must let Congress and the President know that the best way to replace the income tax in the IRS is with the FAIRtax. Now, make no mistake about it, the FAIRtax is a grave threat to the ruling elites. It will strip them of their power and their ability to control us through the tax system. Their opposition to the FAIRtax will be fierce and unrelenting, and don't think for an instant they won't use half-truths, deception, and downright lies in their desperate attempt to hang on to their power. However, with the support of this president, we can finally eliminate the income tax and the IRS. Now, of course, the best course of action is not only to repeal the income tax and abolish the IRS, but to repeal the 16th Amendment as well so that no future administration can ever shackle the American people with an income tax again. We must come together and ensure that real tax reform, the FAIRtax, is not subverted by the elites in D.C. This will take the diligent efforts from all of us. We need your financial assistance, and we need your grassroots assistance. Now, if you have contacts that will allow us to get more information about the FAIRtax to President Trump, please let us know. Also, please email us at info@fairtax.org, and we'll give you some options on how you can best help us. At a minimum, please call your congressional representative and ask if he or she supports the FAIRtax. If so, thank him or her for their support and suggest they become a co-sponsor of H.R. 25 if they're not one already. If not, ask why not. Now, if your representative claims to be unfamiliar with the FAIRtax, offer to have someone come to their office and explain it to them. The solution: pass the FAIRtax. Now, why would D.C. pass the FAIRtax and give up an almost unlimited source of donations? Well, they won't, at least not voluntarily. The only way they will is if the rest of us demand it. Isn't it time to end this ludicrous tax collection system in the IRS along with it? Help bring about real tax reform and stop future IRS abuses. By contributing, or actually investing, $10.40 a month, you help provide a financial base to Americans for fair taxation. Now, if you can make larger contributions/investments, these will be used not for salaries, as we're all volunteers, but for the needed updates to our economic studies, which will be vital for all future years. Please go to fairtax.org to invest in AFFT and help us pass the FAIRtax. It's an investment in your and your family's future.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the FAIRtax, and learn why the FAIRtax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.